truth and preservation of our soul shine. I can feel it, yours and mine. Close your eyes and witness it inside. In your bones, you will know. Trust and let go, and let it flow.
Okay, I'll behave myself.
It's okay. I can edit. Welcome to episode 3 of season 4 of All Things in the Name of Love. Today I have a dear soul friend, Nan Masterson, who I had the opportunity to meet during a course last year from the Sustainable Global Leadership Association. She and I were placed in a group of other beautiful light beings, and we had this beautiful soul resonance. And when I started up the podcast again, I felt this resonance and wanted to interview her and talk to her about her spiritual journey. And right before we pressed the record, I felt this really beautiful conversation starting about the evolution of names. Because as we bring in more light, we hear what our soul name is versus the name we were born with. So my name as a 3-dimensional human is Erica Riesberg. My soul's name is Sophia Riesberg. It might be Sophia Mackenzie Riesberg. I don't know yet, because it keeps going back and forth depending on what frequency I'm in. And you were mentioning that you've gone through many different iterations of your name as well. So I'd like to talk to you about that.
I'd love to talk about it. In fact, actually, when you said that, I realized something that I hadn't thought about before, that my family named me Ann at birth and then immediately started calling me Nancy. And actually, so my family and my older friends still call me Nancy. And I'm the one who changed my name after I divorced.
Okay.
In 1996. I shortened Nancy to Nan.
Okay.
So it just occurred to me that might be the soul calling me. I had gone to speak to a very wise woman who was feeling that I hadn't addressed Anne, and that's what I came into the world as. And I tried it. I'm okay with it. I'm more okay with Anne. I didn't like the name Anne before. I didn't, when somebody called me that, I was offended almost.
Yeah.
Now it's okay. Everything that's legal, I just say, yes, I'm Anne. But I'm the one who changed the Nancy to Nan. So I kind of think that's more in line with where I am.
It's fascinating how when we tune in, what we hear, what we're being called, like, you know, the resonance. I have had fascinating journeys on the shifts of identity in the course of this spiritual journey. And so I used to be an historian, and I still do voiceovers on occasion. But I've been drawn to do energy healing with animals. And that's what my little girl is very excited about. But my adult self had no concept of that. I also heard myself last week say that I'm an artist out loud in a group of people. I denied that for like 40 years.
Yeah.
So how have you seen your journey expand you over time?
Wow. I feel like it has expanded me in so many ways. I was thinking about it today that I've had a lot of very painful things happen in my life, and yet I can sit here and say I've had an amazing life. And I feel like I've had so many adventures. I was actually a very timid sensitive child,
Mhm.
baby, youngest, 3 brothers, male-dominated family.
Mm.
My message in life was behold the male ego at all costs. And that's the way I grew up. And so um, it, it was very difficult for me to make that transition. I also was told that um, my mom never drove a car. Whenever anybody on the road was doing something wrong, my father would say, "Oh, women drivers." Whether it was a woman or not, he would say women drivers. So
Wow.
I kind of had to crawl out of the hole
Yeah.
of being a useless woman.
Wow.
Everything was no, Nancy's gonna get hurt. Like my brothers would go out and play. I was overprotected. So and I also have been realizing how important it's been to have been a sensitive human being, that life affected me very differently than other people. I
Yeah.
think someone else might have just blown that off, but I took everything that came into my existence to heart.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of pain with that.
Yep.
So the journey's been, I could go on for days. So I'll just leave it at that for now.
Well, and for me, I had I'm super sensitive too, and I ended up numbing myself out for a long time because I was so sensitive. And as I'm unwinding all those onion layers and finding out how truly sensitive I am, it's I think this is no, I'm not going to say I think I know internally that we are supposed to be this sensitive, and this navigation of unwinding that is just incredible. I had a conversation with a woman that I've known from my childhood that fixes pianos. She is super sensitive. She lives in New York City.
That's
I'm like,
tough.
"Oh, honey, I'm so sorry, because I know how you do fine-tune pianos. You have to be sensitive for that." I just have so much compassion because she said, "Yeah, I hardened my heart." I'm like, "Well, you had to because, like, you're living in New York City with 10 million people. How do you, like, navigate that?" I spend 90% of my time alone in a small town.
Yes.
So, like, it's and I know you're living on the East Coast, right?
I am also in a very charming small town, but I
Oh.
grew up closer to New York City, and I went for my master's and doctorate in New York City. And
Ooh,
I have to tell you, that was a whole thing in itself, especially with driving.
yeah.
And I had an opportunity to heal some of that because Michael and I drove down to Florida this past month, and I knew that it was my time to the I did not want to drive on 95, but I chose to drive over the Delaware Memorial Bridge, which always terrified me. And and I figured I got to the point where if I go one way, then I'm free. I don't have to do it on the way back. But I'm realizing now that I have to take control over this. I want to feel free to travel wherever I want to go. But
Mhm.
when you talk about sensitive in Washington, D.C. on 95, you're on 95 and you're looking at 15 signs. I am like, which way do I go? I can hear, but I get so distracted. There's too much information coming in.
Yeah.
But I did it. And I realized, even over the Delaware Memorial Bridge, that all I have to do is focus on this second. If I look ahead and I see those huge towers, I
Yeah.
just die inside.
Mhm.
I just go to the next step and the next step and the next step. And I felt like I was saying to Michael, because he has no idea, this is a monumental day. You don't realize this. It's a monumental day, but that's part of my journey.
Mhm. It
So
is. It is, and how beautiful that you were able to bring in that practice of step by step by
by
step.
step, it's the only way I can do it.
Well, this is how we're supposed to live anyways.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
the fact that you were able to do it like bring that practice in while you were working through a big fear
Exactly.
is so powerful.
And can I tell you from a spiritual standpoint, what prepared me for that is I had read the Celestine Prophecy years ago. I read it the week before and then started reading another one about intuition while we were down in Florida. And it kept talking about you will have what you need when you get there.
Mhm.
It's not when you're looking for your trip to be planned out. I realized that things that I was thinking I would be afraid of, I got to, hey, this isn't so bad. And through the whole ride, that's exactly what I was doing. All
Mm.
right, even things like license plates, or I would see a truck come in front of me with a big heart on the flap over the wheels. And I kept saying, I know that you're all here with me. All my spirit guides and ascended masters are here with me on this trip. And there's a lot of traffic because I have a lot of, instead of saying, oh my God, there's so much traffic, it's like, I have my whole entourage here with me. So that's the way I dealt with it this time. And there was pressure, but there was a lot of joy that went with that. It's something I'm not looking forward to doing next week, like,
Right.
which I don't have to, but I feel like I made the conscious decision to
Mm.
do it. And Michael kept saying, I'll drive if you want. And I'm saying, no, I have this, I've got it. So,
Yeah.
and it's been very easy in my life to let the men take over when I didn't want to feel it anymore.
Yeah.
Used to say, that's okay, that's just the way I am and I was brought up. But if I keep doing that, I'm never going to get past it. So
Mm-hmm. That is such an important lesson because like that whole, I mean, it's the evolution from the codependency to the interdependency.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. I have, and you know what? I remember there was something, I think it was, I can't remember who said it. The cave you fear is the cave you need to enter, or something.
Mhm.
And my wish has been to just get in a car and be able to drive anywhere. But
Mm.
my whole life I have spent being totally anxious about if I have to go to a place that I've never been. And I think this trip taught me that the whole world isn't Washington, D.C. It's one small piece of an 18-hour trip
Mhm.
that we took that was fairly normal driving. But my son went to school, the University of Maryland, and I have a sense of guilt that I went down with somebody else driving a few times, but I did not nearly enough
Mhm.
visit. I maybe 3 or 4 times in this whole 4 years.
Wow.
And he came home a lot, which was fine. But so that was my excuse. I don't have to because he loves to drive. But there's a part of me that feels sad that I could have been more there for him because school was hard for him. So, but I can't beat myself up for it. It's just who I am. And I talked to him about it the other night that I feel like I let him down a little bit. And he's like, oh, Ma, don't worry about it, kind
Right.
of
So
thing.
that's something within you, right? Because I'm processing that right now. I have some deep inner child work that I'm doing, and like to feel the feelings that she wants me to feel, there's like this big knot of feelings all combined. So I'm
Yeah.
like trying to tease each one out and giving myself permission to feel those feelings because nobody else gave them to me. They were something within me that I needed to feel. And that liberation, once I actually feel it, is so beautiful because I'm the only one that has that lens on.
You're right.
And to be able to gracefully, which I'm learning grace, it's a practice, just allow is so healing and so needed on this planet right now because we've been so conditioned to shame ourselves and to guilt ourselves and to perceive that we're not the divine beings that we truly are, and that we have to lower ourselves to live in this paradigm.
Exactly. And I think to your point, in terms of lowering ourselves, I think I also had, not only did I lower myself, but all the messages around me was that you're lower than. I think I felt safer with a drunk man driving than I did a woman at one point in my life, because it was so ingrained in my head that women couldn't drive.
Wow.
So, but that part was, I think, a little easier to work through than my own internal, what I came with, or this sensitivity or whatever. So, but life keeps giving us opportunities, which is amazing. I just think it's wonderful that we can be. I almost feel more liberated now at 71 years old than I was as you're supposed to, when you're young, feel like you can do anything. And I was always so nervous about things that it took me all this time to get here.
How beautiful that you've been open, though.
Yes, you know what? Curiosity.
Mhm.
I've always wanted to get over things that were stopping me. But I also, the thing that gets me going is the curiosity. Like, what's so funny is I'm afraid to drive, and yet I'll go over to Kenya and Haiti and India, and then people say to me, "Oh my gosh, why are you doing that?" I am like, it's like I'm coming home here. It's like I don't feel 1 ounce of anxiety about that. So we all have, again, our what we have to overcome and what we have to learn from
Yep. I love that.
it.
I just love
Kind
that.
of,
You know,
kind
that
of crazy.
that curiosity and innocence for me are the magic of this world.
Totally.
And my little internal girl, my 10-year-old, had this traumatic event when I was 10, and she went like this, "You're not getting it," which is beautiful because she had the awareness to know that she was going to lose it if she didn't protect it.
Mm.
Unwinding that, like getting all of those layers off so I can truly be innocent. I have moments of pure bliss because I'm in that state of innocence. I had this is a beautiful little story. I was driving on a road last week, and I saw one bald eagle on a telephone pole and another one flew down and sat next to it. I
Uh,
slowed down because I felt the magic of it. I made eye contact with two bald eagles.
wow.
I mean, that that like you can't feel that if you're not in that state of innocent curiosity.
Totally. That's so great. I so agree. And well, that's the other payoff, I guess. The sensitivity allows us those moments.
Mhm.
And if we're out there in the world doing a lot of things, we miss a lot too. So it's just getting quiet and being okay with quiet is, I guess, I think a lot of the motion in my life was just so I wouldn't get nervous kind of thing. So so it was hard to stay still.
Yeah,
And I got a lot accomplished because of it.
right.
But sometimes it's much harder to just stay still.
Yeah,
But the reward is amazing.
it is. It is because
So,
like once you realize that when you sit still and you're present with what is, even if it's a big, dark, scary monster, which was a vision I had when I was waking up this morning, like there's a big, dark, scary monster that I have to open the door and see. That big, dark, scary monster is me. And all that big, dark, scary monster wants is love.
that's so true. It's, I mean, isn't it true that, I mean, every part of those dreams are us. Like everything in our dream, whoever we're running away from, whoever we're running to, it's all us,
Mhm.
different versions of us. So I thought that was very enlightening for me,
Mhm.
because if everything's you, then why are you running?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But that requires the commitment to self and the love of self to not distract. Like my coping mechanism was distraction. I'm really good at distracting.
Mhm.
It's my little addiction, like, oh, I can look on the phone. I have all these apps. Like, no, no,
Right.
no. The apps are for business. They're not for play. Um, because that's my program. It's like, oh, something uncomfortable. I'm gonna like distract myself. To be able to be present when I feel that urge to distract myself is really, really powerful because there's something in me that is scared to be felt.
Right. I had that happen today,
Mm,
just driving back from the lake, and that same thing, an old tape used to play that I'd get so scared. And so it hadn't come up in a long time. And um, I just let it be and just burst out crying.
mm,
And and then it was gone, you know. So many times when it came up in the past, I would tense up, I would do something real quick to try to make it go away, and it would linger and linger and linger, and I'd work harder and harder. So gosh, I wish I knew these things early on.
I know, it's like so just the it's like such a gift that
Yes,
everyone should know that,
yes,
just giving yourself the time, like, loving yourself enough to give yourself time to feel
right.
is, like, the greatest thing we can ever do for ourselves, and just the wonder of this world. I mean, I've only traveled a lot from coast to coast and up to Canada, but I haven't and China, I haven't done, like, as much travel as I've wanted to, because of different paths I've taken. Um, but, like, each place, like, I live in high desert right now. I never imagined I'd be living in high desert, but it's magical. I like lush, like, Oregon. Oregon's lush and amazing and rich, and
Yes.
so, like, that's where my soul loves, but I have an opportunity to live next to a 14,000-foot mountain and high desert, which is
Wow.
like, there's so many different things. Like, I've seen jackrabbits for the first time. They're amazing. So, like, having that innocence and the sensitivity to be open to the wonders of this world are like, that's the magic.
It is. And I think sometimes when I do that, sometimes I get the old tape saying, what are you accomplishing? Or, what are you sitting around for? You've got things to do. Or
Mhm.
and sometimes I say, okay, I got to get this or that done. It doesn't feel, my life was about accomplishment. And so I feel like I need to, it happened last night. It was like, I think I need to work full time again, kind of thing. And I started looking at job offers and things like that. And then I said, wait a minute, I don't know whether that's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. But I wanted to feel that feeling of satisfaction that you're making it and a difference. And I know I'm making a difference through my charity, but but even if I wasn't, like, why can't I just be? Like, why does it, and I know that a lot spiritually, we're here to help each other. So that part is all good. But to feel like it's a mandate is different than it flowing
Yeah.
from just your fullness.
Mm-hmm.
So every once in a while I get one of those and I have to sit down. So I'll copy all the job things down. I'll spend maybe an hour getting it all done, and then I'll say, and then this morning I woke up and I said, "This is ridiculous." I threw it all away.
Yeah.
But I had to go through the exercise. I think it was a full moon last night.
Yep.
So
Yep.
so you know how you kind of get a little bit,
Oh yeah. A little
so
wonky. Yeah.
so I figured, all right, go through the exercise, get it out of your system,
Yep.
and then let it sit with you. If it's really meant to be,
Yeah.
it'll stay with you.
Oh, that's such a good
So,
practice.
yeah,
Such a good practice. Just have the awareness of like, oh, I have this thing coming up. Am I going to like repress it, or will I let it just run its course and then bring it back the next day and say, well, what do you want to do with it? That's so powerful because it like
right.
it disconnects you from the habit, and the habit's
And
still there. But
the emotion of it.
yeah,
Like when you separate, you can look at it and say, is that really what you want to be doing? Like,
right,
not really. I would have been doing it if I wanted to do it.
right.
So you're right.
It's
That,
just
what do they
so
call that?
beautiful.
Be the witness to what's happening in your person.
Yeah. It's really fascinating because we find so many little programs that we have and beliefs and all the things that we've been taught that aren't real. Um, it just, but we need those little triggers
Right.
to be able to like, oh, I got this button pressed. What does this button mean? It doesn't feel good. Well, what's in here that's telling me it doesn't feel good? And then just be present
Right.
to that. It's just a beautiful dance.
Right. And something else too that I'm noticing, that even I used to always have to understand why kind of thing.
Yep.
This whole thing of me sometimes like crying, I don't even need to know whether it's in myself. I don't need to know what it is. I am in awe of the amount of energy that I have been carrying all these years. I've
Mm,
been through so much therapy. I am such a proponent of it to work through all the issues, and I feel like I think I have solved it, and I may have solved this much. But this whole thing in the last year, maybe, of just arbitrarily, just all of a sudden feelings come up and I sob. And I just feel like our bodies are amazing that they can repress so much that it is totally out of your mind. You don't even know
right.
that certain things happen to you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then
So,
but the grace of being able to, when the feeling comes up, be with it.
right,
I mean, that's so important because we're so used to, we're conditioned to repressing our feelings. And
right,
the gift of having them is to feel them.
right. And I want to add something to this for anybody that's listening, because one thing I've realized too, um, that I feel so blessed when I find somebody, a sensitive person to talk to. And Michael and I went to this wonderful couple I was feeling like I was a very spiritual woman with lots of spiritual gifts. And I find myself, and Michael has noticed that I'm having some of my gifts that I didn't know I had are coming out. And there is something she has had a very difficult past of sexual abuse. And um, I may have, but I have prayed about it, and I have meditated about it. She had a hard time with me not, like I wasn't addressing something.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I may not be, but I have realized in my life that there's something about take what you like and leave the rest.
Mhm.
I may be able to process it as another time in my life, or there may be something in her that is coming up for her
Mhm.
and she's needing to control something.
Mhm.
So everything, even with a person you have great respect for, it's not necessary that you believe everything that comes into your conscience, no matter who says it.
Mhm.
I can love her, I can respect her. I labored over trying to figure out where it happened and all of that.
Mhm.
And it may have, and I may still be repressing it. However, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
And so I have to love her and respect her and say I have to respect my own intuition more.
Mhm.
So we learn from each other, but we don't have to believe everything
Right.
unless it resonates with us.
Right. Because, like, I'll give an example. My mom had a traumatic experience when she was little about eating Brussels sprouts. Told the detail in such detail, like I could feel the torment of like eating cold Brussels sprouts with butter that's congealed on them. Like I couldn't eat Brussels sprouts for like 40 years because of that story.
Oh my gosh.
Because I thought Brussels sprouts were awful, right? Because that's the story
Yes.
I was told by one person.
Yes.
And then I got this recipe. Whole Foods used to publish I don't know if they still do, but like they used to have these recipes online. And I found one that was roasted Brussels sprouts with Parmesan. I'm like, well, I could try that. And ever since, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I miss out on these magic things?
But it took courage. It took courage for
Right,
you to actually do that.
right. And it's an example of like how many levels of programming we have. Like a poor beautiful little vegetable is complete, and my body loves it. So it's like
Yeah.
I was completely denying myself something really tasty because of a story someone else told me about it. And that happens so much in this world, is like we take on somebody else's belief without knowing it.
Right.
And so like when like a technique I have is like when I feel something come up, I ask if it's mine or not,
It's good.
because sometimes it's not.
Especially when you're sensitive,
Yep.
because I felt like I took on everybody's stuff when I was younger,
Hmm.
and that was really painful.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I'm happy I learned that technique of just saying, "Is this mine?" You know what? I didn't say, "Is this mine?" But that's basically what I did with the information she was providing for me,
Hmm.
or urging me to feel. So it's all good.
Yeah, it is. It's all good.
Yeah.
Mm. I'm pausing for a second because I it's not on my radar screen to upgrade to a full um Zoom. So we have about 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and then it'll kick me off, but we can go back on if you want to continue talking, and I can edit all of this out.
I'm really, really enjoying, I don't even know what time it is. I have a dentist appointment after this.
Okay.
I think I'll probably have to, I could go on for maybe 5 or 10 more minutes, but I have to leave for the dentist.
Okay.
So
So how about this? How about we wrap up, because this is a beautiful space to wrap up, and we can have
sounds
another
good.
podcast later.
I would love that. I
All
mean,
right.
I could talk for hours, especially to you, Sophia. I just
Oh,
love your energy. I love it.
you too.
Feel like we have been blessed with our group.
We have.
Um, and you know what? It's not a surprise. You know, water seeks its own level, and we found each other, and we'll do what we have to do in the world. But it's nice to have like-minded,
Hmm.
light bodies
Yeah.
to connect with.
Oh, yeah.
So
So what Nan is referring to is after the SGLA ended, we continued our group, and we've been talking for the past 8 months.
about that.
After the class ended, every month we have this call, and we just reconnect and we feel the energy of each other and we're supporting each other. And we've had some powerful transformations in it just because we love each other from that. We've never met in person,
Right.
but the energetic space we provide for each other is so magical that we have this really close bond. And like every month I'm like, so when's the call? When's the call?
I know. It's next week, I think,
It is
isn't it?
next
It's
week.
this, yeah,
Yeah,
next
just
Tuesday.
because like I love that connection.
Yeah.
It's really magical. And the fact that we can, it just speaks to how energetic beings we truly are, that we can have these connections without the physical, the physical touching.
Yes. In
And
fact, that might be an interesting podcast that you
ah,
do if a couple of us,
mhm.
we all did a Zoom just to talk about spirituality. I
Oh,
don't
I'd love
know.
that. I love that.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That
I
would be
mean,
amazing.
and as we're talking, I don't know who will pick this up, but it's always been so nourishing to me to hear other people's stories, other people's journey.
Mhm,
And I do feel like we are connected when we're supposed to.
mhm.
I saw a letter today, interestingly, when I was thinking of writing the provost at the university where I was working to tell her that I'm really available to come back full time and run this program for her. A year ago, I wrote her, she sent a Christmas card and I wrote back to her. And it came up today. I decided to clean off my screen. And as I'm thinking, should I
Oh,
call Kay? So,
oh,
okay.
okay.
So I had this situation this morning as I was thinking of all my energy going toward a job, and this would be great, and I'd have more money and everything. And I decided to clean off my desktop. And I found a letter that I had written to the provost at the university where I was working. And it said everything I wanted to say
Okay.
a year ago when I decided to leave the job. But it always astonishes me that if you're open for the messages, they present themselves without, I mean, you should see how crowded my desktop is. And I just happened to today decide, I didn't even know I wrote her a letter. Like, a year goes by, like I knew I I wrote something, but I mean, I didn't know the detail. I didn't remember the details. It was over a year ago,
Right.
but I realized I already said what I had to say. I told her why I was doing what I was doing. Um, I don't have to say anything to anybody.
Mm-mm.
So, but that's what happens when you're open to the universe. And again, I'm reading this book on intuition, and I'm just being more open to the messages, the miracles. I do believe miracles happen before us every day, and we miss them
Yeah.
because we're too caught up in what we're supposed to do.
Mhm.
So I guess that would be the message: is be open to the miracles. And also there's so many people that are sad and depressed because of they have their TV news on all the time, and they're listening to they're listening to people's opinions, not
Mm.
the news. And I mean, I just decided that I don't need to know your opinion. If I need to know something, it'll come to me. If I can do something about it, I will.
Mhm.
I do. So I just feel like we just have to be, it's a total paradigm shift of saying, this is an incredible world. We have this privilege of being in this world at a time like no other time in history.
Mhm.
And it gets crazy at times, like with internet and not understanding how it all works kind of thing. But I'm trying so hard to just be open to
Mhm.
all of it because it's all coming in for a reason,
Yeah.
and to know when to let certain things go,
Mhm.
especially as a very sensitive person.
Yes.
So
Mm.
that's my closing comment for now. For now.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. Thank you. Thank
Oh, my pleasure. So how will I see this? Can I just go on YouTube and see it?
I'm gonna post it on Monday because I do
Okay.
post-production and all that stuff. I will send you links because it's on
Okay.
YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on iTunes Radio, iHeartRadio rather. It's on Apple Podcasts, it's on a whole bunch of different things. It's even international. So yeah, I'll share links and you can share links and it'll be really amazing.
Oh,
And
that'd be great.
yeah, and so the one thing I do at
Thank
the
you.
end is offer an action item for my listeners. And the action item of the week is to be. Just be present with yourself. Even if it's for like 2 minutes, you can even time it. Just feel what it's like to be without a distraction. And I hope that serves you well. And until next time, I bid you all peace,
That's great.
love, and calm. Namaste.
Namaste. Mwah.
Can you help me redefine truth and preservation of our soul shine? I can feel it, yours and mine. Close your eyes and witness it inside. In your bones, you will know. Trust and let go and let it flow.